They settled out of court. I wasted 2 to 3 years of my life. What did I do for myself? What did I do
Mm.
for my family other than paying the bills? What did I
Yes.
do for society that was of value?
Mhm.
Nothing.
Yeah. Well,
Nothing.
that's the question everybody who's listening should ask themselves. What is the value and what are you getting out of this? What are you doing for yourself?
And here's the other issue. The other issue is all the philosophers I've ever read, Western philosophers, Eastern philosophers, Asian philosophers, they all say the same thing.
Mhm.
A, we are all at our best when we do things to help other people.
Yep.
We are all at our best when we do things to help other people and the societies in which we live.
Yep.
That's what gives us um, resonance as individuals. That's
Yes.
what gives us purpose as individuals. That's
Exactly.
what gives us value as individuals. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, I never, when I got it, again, I got into teaching for all the wrong reasons. I never realized until the end of my first year of teaching how much students and their parents valued and respected and appreciated what I had done that
Mhm.
year for them all. And I'm thinking, I'm just Joe Schlub, surf
Yeah.
dude, who got into this for all the wrong reasons, and they're telling me I'm like, I'm walking on water here, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And because I was giving them something that they hadn't heard before.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case. I wasn't telling them this is the way you should be. This
Mhm.
is what society expects of you. Here are the rules, follow them. Here are the
Mhm.
10 commandments, follow. No, I didn't do that. I didn't
Yeah.
do that. No, 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 no. That's not the way the world works. That's not the way an individual grows, develops, uh, creates, produces really. Okay?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to do it as an individual and you got to follow your own star.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, it's funny how you say like, you never really intended to be a teacher. And the funny thing enough, that course goes along with, this podcast. Like, I never intended or wanted to be a speaker or interview people or talk on a podcast. That was not even anywhere near my North Star of something
Right.
I even envisioned. I
Right.
never thought about any of this. And now that I fell into it, I love it. I love listening to people's stories. And I feel like these stories, one story, will heal another. Everyone who tells a story can give another tip and trick to somebody else and learn a lesson and keeps getting passed on and be documented here. And I think it's super helpful.
Well, I mean, and here's how this relates. We had done this, unfortunately, this lost episode.
Forever and ever.
Yeah, and I was talking about uh, okay, one of my favorite scholars and philosophers called Joseph Campbell,
Mhm.
and he wrote a book. I was born in 1945, and I think around that time he came out with this book called "A Hero with a Thousand Faces." Okay, and I didn't come across it till I was in college, about 15 years later. But what he was saying was that the whole notion of the hero in stories in every culture, in every time period, Asian culture, Western culture, whatever, that the hero, quote unquote, was the same basic person. Why? Because that hero, in terms of um, the journey, was the story was the same. Okay?
Mhm.
That the hero, whether it be the kid in Jabberwocky, or whether it was Oedipus, or whether it was Jesus Christ, or whether it was you know whomever, okay, Buddha.
Buddha. Yep.
Here was the metaphor. The metaphor was that there was separation, initiation, return. That the individual separated from his old life, from his childhood, whatever,
His parents.
whatever, and then got initiated into by some kind of adventure, obstacle, challenge, whatever,
Hmm.
monster,
Hmm.
and then was triumphant with that challenge, and then returned to his beginnings, his family, his culture, whatever, and said, "Look what I experienced. I triumphed, and if I can triumph, so
Mhm.
can you.
Yes,
The
exactly.
story, the story of Christ, same thing. He
Mhm.
separates from his, I guess, his family,
Yeah.
Mary, Joseph, and whatever. He gets initiated into all this stuff and what have you, and then he winds up getting crucified and what have you. And then, of course, this is the ultimate story of return. He gets, quote, resurrected and returns and says, "Hey, look, this is what I went through, and you can be resurrected too if you follow my belief system."
Hmm.
Odysseus, same thing. He goes off to the Trojan War. He goes through all that whole challenge. He comes back and he saves his son and his wife and so on, and says, "Hey, look what I went through. You can do this." And so whatever the hero is,
Yeah.
I always used to do the poem Jabberwocky, which most of high school teachers in my day would teach as a nonsense poem, and I'd say, "No, it doesn't, because it's silly. The verbiage in it is silly,
Yeah.
and it seems to make no sense. He's going off to slay the Jabberwock, whatever."
Hmm.
That's the same thing. He separates from his family. The father says, "Hey, go off, knock yourself out." He goes and he meets up with the Jabberwock, slays it, and then he returns and says, "Look what I did."
Yeah.
Look at Jack and the Beanstalk. So Jack and
Hmm.
the Beanstalk, same thing. Jack and the Beanstalk. His father dies. His mother says, "Hey, look, you're not a great son. You're not your father. But here, do this. We're starving. Here, take the cow. Go to the market. Get some money for the cow, and
Yeah.
this will help us, not starve." So what does he do? He gets conned, and what he
Hmm.
gets is not a
Eats.
bunch of money. He gets beans. Comes back. His mother thinks he's a total freaking moron.
Yeah.
You're not your father. You're a loser. Okay, so the kid so the kid throws the they throw the he throws the beans out the window. Next morning, there's a giant beanstalk. He goes up the beanstalk and kills the giant. He gets the goose that lays the golden egg. Gets the golden harp. Comes back. His mother thinks he's a hero. Right?
Yep. Hero.
Wow.
Yep.
Now you not only you like your father, you're better than your father. And so what is it? That's separation. He goes off
Hmm.
family, his mother, and kind of then he's initiated by doing something stupid, and from that, okay, what happens is he has a challenge, he meets it, he emerges triumphant, comes
Hmm.
back, and now he's says to mom, "Hey, look, I'm terrific now. I did
Yeah.
this," and so now he's a hero.
He's
Okay,
the hero.
of course, I always tell that story. I used to give a Freudian interpretation to that
Yeah.
story,
Yes, you did.
right?
Yes.
I don't know any adolescent boy who did not wake up in the morning with a giant beanstalk that he had to deal with.
Yeah. And then the whole class would giggle.
That's whole yeah, and that's another whole podcast. but, but
Well,